Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Amanda Fest podcast, where our mission is simple. It's to inspire and empower you to take aligned action towards your dream life, whatever that looks like for you. I have a very special guest here today that I am super excited to introduce you to. Her name is Tasha Blank. She is a celebrated international DJ, somatic practitioner, teacher, and founder of The Get Down, The Drop, Body Language, and a global leadership academy called Powerhouse DJ School, also known as PhDJ. She's a student of somatic healing, shadow work, story, and ceremony. Her nervous system-based approach to transformation through movement is a wild invitation into your most powerful expression. She is known for liberating hips in New York City's most legendary clubs, the world's wildest festivals and museums, churches, helipads, roving desert ships, forests, and mountaintops everywhere. I cannot wait to dive into this conversation. She has so much wisdom and power to share, but as we've done with every episode, before we dive into this one, we're going to take a moment to ground down, to arrive in our bodies, and just to connect to ourselves so that we can better absorb all of the juice and wisdom and magic that this episode is going to be so full of. So, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if it is safe for you to do so, if you're driving, don't do this. I invite you to close down your eyes. I like to put a hand on my heart and one on my belly. Just start tuning into your internal world. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Feeling your diaphragm fill up with air on that inhale. And really allowing yourself to feel a sense of relief and release with each exhale. And I invite you to think about an intention for this next 45 minutes to an hour together. Thinking about what you want to be filled up with, what you want more of, and imagining you're breathing in that intention in through your nose. Feeling your body fill up with that sensation. And on that exhale, releasing anything that is not in alignment with what you are desiring to feel in this moment right here, right now. Just tuning into those breaths a few more times, in through the nose. And out through the mouth. 2 more times, in through the nose. Out through the mouth. Last time, make it count. Feel free to shake, move, get out any excess energy you need in through the nose. And welcome to your bodies, welcome to the present moment, and welcome to our fabulous, amazing guest, Tasha. I'm so excited to have you. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
How's it going? How's your day been?
My day's been really sweet. Yeah. We're in the last weeks of enrollment for PhDJ, which starts in 4 weeks, but I think we're going to fill up before we begin. So it's a lot of amazing conversations with incredible people who are deeply passionate about this weird niche intersection of things I'm obsessed with. So that's always really fun.
Can you tell us a little bit more about PhDJ and where that came from, what the inception of it, and like there's an interview process for people to get into your program? What's that about?
Oh yeah. So it's a very deep, immersive experience. It's 8 months. It definitely takes a certain level of dedication, commitment, and alignment. So I talk to every single person who seems like a great candidate before they join. And PhDJ was born out of, the pandemic, first of all, and ultimately the desire to empower more people to create immaculate dance floors. And by immaculate, I mean that the sound is incredible and the mixing is on point and the music is epic and the environment feels safe and the crowd feels connected. And there's that kind of magic sauce on the dance floor that is the whole reason we do this. That I think a lot of electronic music culture and festival culture and club culture strives for, but comes out empty-handed, because there's a lot of sparkle and flash and status and stuff that is also saturated, especially as the more phones and social media take over. It becomes more and more about the look and the signifiers that you see, but actually it's about something much deeper, and it is a deep, deep part of our DNA as humans. So we're really getting back to the roots of why we dance and what music really has the power to do and how to actually do it with what we're doing in PhDJ. And
so exciting.
Yeah, it came to be. I had been a professional DJ for about 10 years, and dancing had saved my life before that. In many ways, I was a pre-professional dancer growing up. I was classically trained.
What style of dance did you do?
Oh, I did all the things. I did ballet because I had to, because you have to do ballet, but it was my least favorite because of the perfection. Yeah, I didn't have the body. I didn't have the things you need to succeed in ballet. So I was really on the modern dance track, but I loved all of it. I did hip hop and tap and jazz and all the things. But what I found was the more serious I got as a dancer, and I was in a company, and I went to performing arts school during the summers and got to study with Juilliard faculty when I was in high school. And
what summer programs did you do?
the most epic one was Perry Mansfield, which is in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. And it's actually one of the homes of one of the birthplaces of modern dance. Back in the 1920s, there were modern dance pioneers like frolicking around in the mountains. It was so cool. So it was incredible. But for me, I already had a lot of anxiety, depression, self-hate, eating disorders, body dysmorphia. And so classical dance approach just turned the volume up on all of it. And it became less and less fun. The joy just got sucked more and more out of it the more serious I got. So I, at the choice point of higher education, when I was 18 years old, I decided to go into academia and stop dancing. And ironically, that actually spiraled me down even further, because I ended up going more and more into my head and into very hardcore, super heady, like critical theory, literary theory, gender theory, like very, Adderall-fueled all-nighters in the library writing 10-page papers, and ended up having a health crisis.
Did you study in school?
So I was at an interdisciplinary program at New York University. So I got to study whatever I wanted and craft my own major. And it started the first couple of years as that, like, very analytical, those disciplines I just mentioned.
Right.
And then I had this major health crisis that was a huge awakening for me and completely changed my perspective on reality and what my values were. It was a big shakeup that it's just very clear, like, Natasha, you are going to have to change everything about how you relate to life if you're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So I was able to shift my course of study in the direction of healing and somatics and mysticism and consciousness studies.
Perfect.
Yeah, and my dissertation, which I had as an undergrad, it wasn't called a dissertation, but it was very similar because it was in this interdisciplinary program. Basically had to prove that I had done something. So you write the paper and you have the panel of professors, you have the conversation, you give the presentation. It was called The Embodied Self.
Ooh.
Which, I graduated with that degree knowing absolutely zero about what I would do with it.
Well, what's wild, like the embodied self, I remember embodiment was one of the first spiritual words I had ever heard. I remember the first time I heard it, and I wrote it down in my journal, and I spelled it wrong. And it was like IMBODY, and it's embody, like EMBODY. And I was like, embody. And I remember really sitting there and thinking about that word, and I could not wrap my head around what it meant. Even though I understood the definition of it to being your body, at that point in my life, I didn't have the understanding of what embodiment felt like. So I couldn't comprehend the word fully. So it's pretty cool that that came to you so young and you were able to study that in college. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, I essentially majored in Burning Man.
Love it. Love it. Yes. When was the first time you went to Burning Man?
When I was in college, yeah.
Okay.
I think it was after my junior year.
Wow.
That I first went. Yeah, and that was after the crisis kind of turned my life around. And, you know, I'd never even heard of Burning Man a year before, but life led me there.
I went to Burning Man the first year I heard about it, too. Someone told me about it, and then I was like, cool, yeah, I'd go to that. And then that year I manifested my way there.
Nice. Yep, it was a game changer. At the time, it was 2007 was my first year. Yeah, and that's where I found electronic dance music and this new way of relating to dancing, which up until that point had really been about dancing from the outside in, you know, looking at how I looked in the mirror and doing choreography and trying to get it perfect for everybody else. And this was the opposite. It was dancing from the inside out, like moving with a force of creativity bigger than me and allowing myself to be consumed and transformed by it, which changed everything.
Do you feel like going to Burning Man, was that a part of the shift of, okay, you went to Burning Man and then you're like, now I'm just changing my major and this is what it's going to be about? Or where did that play into the timeline?
That was about a year after the dark night of the soul, when I realized everything needed to change, but I was still in the everything's falling apart. And then through that year, my junior year of college, that fall and that winter, I got all new friends and I learned about holistic healing and I learned about healing through nutrition and I learned Reiki and about energy. And, you know, part of the health crisis was a huge disillusionment around the Western medical system. And realizing that I actually knew a lot more than the doctors I was working with, which was fucking weird. It was like a big reality to watch crumble, you know, these people who are so uplifted and pedestalized.
Do you feel like you knew more because of your education in alternative medicine, or do you feel like part of why you knew more was because you just know your body better than other people are telling you what is happening?
I didn't know very much about alternative medicine at that point, but I could feel what was happening, and I observed, you know, it wasn't hard to see. like, oh, you've just gone through some deeply stressful emotional stuff, plus the way that I was treating my body and on all sorts of different levels, and the way that that cascaded into symptoms. And I had doctors being like, we're never going to understand why this is happening. You just need to take this drug and this drug and this drug. And I was like, I can literally tell you why it's happening. So frustrating. So, you know, I kind of did go along with some of the Western stuff just to get things under control. But I knew it was not an answer. I knew it was not the answer, and that the answer was going to be a journey.
So walk us through, you switched your major. What was it called? It was embodiment.
The embodied self.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about what that was?
Oh my gosh, nobody has asked me about this in such a long time.
Well, because I feel like this is going to tie to everything we're about to talk about. I want to know like the inception of Miss Tasha over here.
Yeah, 100%. So in the first part of my education, like I said, it was critical theory, literary theory, gender theory, which a lot of that is about breaking down how we have structured our reality to the point where you realize it's all made up.
Yeah.
And this is done through dissecting language. It's done through, we've got Derrida over here, we've got Foucault over here, we've got all of these philosophers and thinkers who did it in their own way. But I got the academic understanding of that, and it was just like, whoa, that's wild. And so there was this tremendous liberation that happened alongside of that, this like mental freedom that occurred, but it did not translate to my body. And I still was carrying, all of my eating disordered, body dysmorphic habits, because none of it was integrated into my body. Even though I was, studying feminism, and I was studying, how advertising plays on our psychology to make us feel bad about ourselves. I got it in my head, but it did not translate to action on any level.
It wasn't embodied.
Yeah. So part of that world of study, there's also this discussion of what is the self. And many of us have heard that quote, I think, therefore I am. There's this idea that I exist because I have a mind. My mind is who I am. My mind is the truth. My identity, my story of who I am is, my personhood. And that all really started to break down when my body started to express itself in some pretty extreme ways and send me very clear signals that it was not happy.
Right.
And also the doctors who are supposed to understand the body seem to be missing out on a whole bunch of understanding. It led to me kind of stepping into the exploration of this wild territory that is our energetic physiological system that is so complex and intelligent and has so much wisdom to share. And it was from there that I was like, oh, I think I have to learn to listen to this. I think I have to learn to understand what it needs and to respect it and to learn more about what's actually going on.
Right.
And become open to changing my life. I was in a really cool interdisciplinary program. So like I got to take classes on shamanism and mysticism. And
did you have an idea at this point of what type of a career was going to come of this on the other side? Were you starting to think about what you wanted to do post-graduation, or were there models that you were wanting to follow in the footsteps of?
Absolutely not. I had no idea.
Great.
I was so fucked. I was absolutely terrified. And what was really interesting was because in the last couple of years of my education and this unfolding, I also took psychedelics for the first time. And that was a huge embodied experience of everything I had studied in critical theory. It was like, now you get to have the experience of the fact that everything's made up. And that nothing is real. Like we've all constructed it.
It's kind of cool to hear you talk about this though, because I don't think I've ever spoken to anybody that studied something in college that they studied it purely because they found it interesting. You know what I mean? Because I feel like now as adults, I find myself oftentimes like going down rabbit holes and wanting to learn about things and like being more interested in being studious versus when I was in school. I was so wrapped up in the system of I'm like doing this for this. It's so outcome driven, purpose driven. So it's a really cool, interesting thing to hear. And it makes so much sense because of the stage. I went through a lot of similar things as you did. I just didn't do it while I was in college. So to hear that you're like, I'm in college, I'm going to Burning Man, I'm experiencing psychedelics, I'm having this dark night of the soul, and now I actually get to start making changes in my choices, like what I'm studying in school, what my degree is going to be. I'm excited to hear how this kind of continues to unfold. The next question is going to be, then what? How did the unfolding unravel of we finish school, we do our dissertation, we learn all these things, we're embodied in this, and then what's that progression look like into now I need to exist in the world and find a way to support myself somehow, possibly in this realm?
Yeah, it's worth saying that I was extremely lucky to be in the program that I was, in that it's very rare to be in a program that can support your evolution as a person and support your interests in that way. And I think more and more college is irrelevant and totally unnecessary and does not deliver on the investment at all. So it was like a unique kind of set of circumstances that also was, in many ways, I graduated feeling entirely unprepared. So there's pros and cons to all of it.
So what did you do when you graduated? What was the move?
I probably would have had less existential terror and anxiety had I been given skills or been put in opportunities that like allowed me to develop myself professionally, like had I apprenticed with somebody or learned, you know, there's lots of different ways it could have gone. So yeah, I graduated, went to Burning Man again, lived on a eco village in Jamaica for a few months.
How did that happen?
My best friend at the time had family that was part of it. And so it was just beginning. There was only 2 permanent residents there. And we and another one of our friends went down and spent 3 months there, which was also huge awakening, because to be in some place where there's pretty much zero infrastructure where we were was very confronting. And I got to have some pretty epic experiences that were challenging and gave me really important information about what I needed to lean into, including the dance, including music. And I had no idea, like it was being confirmed to me and reflected back to me over and over and over that I needed to pursue music and dance in some way that felt true to me, in some way that had nothing to do with my dance background. And I really didn't know what that was going to look like. But as I had been, you know, after my first burn, I got back and I was like, okay, I live in New York. Where do I find these people? You know, it was this whole world opened up to me. I was like, this exists. These people exist. Some of you live in New York. What's going on? Where do I find this? So I found, you know, where some of the parties were and where some of the clubs were that these things were happening. And I found the DJs I liked and I found where I wanted to go dance. And I did that. And there, I was pretty noticeable on the floor. I was a pretty high energy, committed dancer. And there was one guy who was probably the only person sweatier than me on the dance floor. After a few times of us dancing together, a few months of us seeing each other places, he leaned over, he was like, hey, have you ever heard of this thing called 5 rhythms? In my head, I was like, I got infinite rhythms. I don't need no 5 rhythms. There's such a little brat response. I was like, what's that? I don't know. I'm here living my best life, because on the dance floor, it was the most free experience I'd ever had of myself since I was a small child. Right. So I really was able to tap into my infinite power and creativity in a way that I was totally unable to in the rest of my day-to-day life when I was like a terrified, I don't know what I'm doing with anything, 21-year-old. And a couple other people mentioned 5 rhythms to me. And at this point, I was very interested in nutrition and holistic health, because that had been the practical thing I had learned a lot about in the previous 2 years. It's like, okay, what could I do? So I signed up for the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I was like, okay, this could be a career. I could do this. This is a job that I have a knack for and an interest in. Right. And I was planning to start a holistic health business with my bestie, who I'd been in Jamaica with and who had seen all the reflections I'd gotten that like, bitch, you need to be dancing. And the first weekend of Institute for Integrative Nutrition, we were paired with a coach. I don't know how it works now, but it was in person, and we got to meet with a coach who had graduated the previous year. And the coach and the 6 other women who were paired with her, we all went out to lunch, and she was like, hey, so my name's Kristen, and this is some stuff about me, and by the way, I go to this thing called 5 Rhythms, and if you want to come with me on Friday, let me know. And I was like, okay, got it. And then my bestie, who I was going into business with, took me out to lunch the next day, and she goes, listen, you need to be dancing I don't think that you should be part of what I'm going to create with this holistic health company, because we'd been planning on it for months and months.
Right.
And she's like, this isn't,
I love you. No.
and she's like, would you please go to that 5 Rhythms thing that everybody keeps talking about? And I was like, I'm going.
You know what's really, really funny? I was having this conversation yesterday with a friend because I've been traveling, I've been nomadic for the last few years, and he asked me, how do you make decisions about things? I was like, for example, and exactly what you said, I said, sometimes with certain things, so I'll be traveling and somebody will say it to me once and I'll be like, okay. They'll say it to me twice and I'll be like, all right. Say it to me 3. And then I'm like, by the time the 4th person recommends the same thing for me specifically, I'm like, okay. I take it as a universal nudge. Everybody's saying this is where I need to be. All different people, they meet me for 5 minutes and they're like, you need to do this. And I'm like, great. So it's funny to hear that reflected back that you had this. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4. You're like, okay.
I'd say I'm probably better about it now, but I used to have to get smacked by the universe
Right.
to get the message.
Like, go to 5 Rhythms.
Oh, I got so many bitch smacks from the universe. So lovingly. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So I went, and 5 Rhythms, turns out, is a beautiful free-form dance practice with a pretty clear format and set of philosophies behind it, created by Gabrielle Roth, actually in the 70s. We've been doing this as a species forever. This is an ancient technology that's part of how we human healthfully, that in the West we've lost track of. And Gabrielle was really a huge pioneer of bringing it back to Western culture. And her work is really what inspired ecstatic dance, which is a huge movement now, is a looser container. There's a very, very broad definition of what ecstatic dance really is. 5 Rhythms is more clear. But yeah, and no less was I brought to 5 Rhythms in New York City, which is really the home of it. It's where Gabrielle lived at the time. It's where the central HQ was, some amazing, amazing teachers, lots and lots of classes. So immediately I was in like 4 classes a week from then on.
And then how did going to 5 Rhythms, did you start your own business immediately? I want to know from somebody that has a passion and a dream, right? Like this whole podcast is for, maybe it's not music, maybe it's not dance, maybe it's whatever it is. But how do you go from the place of being in your soul, in your gut, like, I need to be dancing. This is something, I have to find a way to create a path in this direction. Like, how do you get to the place of that feeling to the execution of, now we're doing this?
Well, it took a while. It was very step-by-step, feeling my way in the dark kind of thing. I, for a few years, was waiting tables and babysitting for $12 an hour to make money and living in a very, very cheap room. And the first opportunity I had to pursue this in any meaningful way, in any like leadership kind of capacity, was I decided to start a dance party called Get Your Dance On. And I got the opportunity to start it at this venue that was a bowling alley / music venue. Okay. When they were not open to the public at 10 a.m. on a Saturday in the middle of a snowstorm. It was like in December. Yeah. I think just maybe 2009. We brought in a DJ and kind of told them what to do, which I still cringe about, and opened up the floor for it to be this kind of freeform dance thing. And 5 people came. Great. Which is amazing to me, actually, looking back on it. 5 people showed up at 10 a.m. on a Saturday in the middle of a snowstorm in New York City. Interesting. So then the next time we asked if we could do it after doors open, like later in the afternoon when there was actually people in the venue. And from there started to evolve it and started to grow it into a thing. And I didn't get paid. I think maybe the arrangement was that the venue paid the DJ. And we just did this thing, and it got more people in the door, and it created a vibe. It was like kind of weird, but people started coming more and more. And once it started to take on a little bit of a life, I approached Yoga Works, which had just opened a new location in Soho, and they were interested in promoting their new studio. And I was like, hey, could I do this? I have this party. It's called Get Your Dance On.
Yeah.
Can I do it here on a Saturday night after you finish yoga classes, and we can, give everybody who comes a free yoga pass for them to come back and take class, and we'll get people in the door. And they said yes. And I had a free venue.
Great.
I had to rent sound. It was very epic. We had multiple rooms. There was a DJ room. There was a live music room. There was a chill space.
Did you have any education around how to host and facilitate a space, or you were just kind of figuring it out as you went and using your intuition based off of what you had experienced?
I had been to Burning Man. I was like, well, this way of living life and engaging with the world and creating gatherings and relating to people is something you don't see in the default world, as they call it, in like day-to-day life. So it was like, how do I bring that here? And I had no template or format for it. So I was just figuring it out as I went.
You fuck around and find out, baby.
That's right. A lot of that. There's a lot of that.
I love that. Fun. And I think a big lesson in that too is just, if you don't ask, you don't get. And just putting yourself out there and, putting together this thing for no money and then being like, I'm going to pitch it to this yoga studio. These are the stories that we hear again and again and again. And when people kind of get stuck in this, I don't know what to do next, I don't know what move to make, it's like, just make a move. Just move forward.
I'm so grateful for a lot of those years, like the full decade of my 20s, I did not have much money at all. Like I remember my sister referring to it as having a relationship to zero, like every day having a relationship to how far you are from zero in your bank account. Wow. And so I had no choice. I had to do something. And I also had, just tons of neurodivergence, totally ADD. I'd had these jobs. I was able to do nannying, do some waiting up tables, but it was freaking challenging. Right. And there was not going to be any kind of sitting behind a desk for my brain. Right. I was up against a wall. Like, I really had to make this work, or else I didn't have many options. Yeah. And I remember feeling such a longing for some level of material security during that decade. And just, I wish I could just hit it big. I wish I could just find something that works. I wish I could just get a job. Like, I wish I could just become nutritional counselor to famous people, because I also did have some health coaching clients, and I did implement that certification, but it wasn't what I was meant to be doing. So it didn't take off, right?
It was the thing that was paying the bills or supporting you while you were building the rest of the dream.
Yeah. And not paying the bills nearly well enough for me to just hang back and not pursue the dream. Like I had to take the next uncomfortable step. And I was very shy. I was very socially anxious. None of this was enjoyable. I hated all of it. And I also loved all of it, but it was so freaking scary. And it was so constant feeling of vulnerability, of feeling so exposed. And I had to put myself out there. Every time you throw something and you invite people to it, you're so vulnerable. You know, are people going to come? It's this really tender feeling. And so I'm grateful to not having had any money.
Right.
For the fact that I had to keep doing it, because I wouldn't have otherwise. I would have just hung back and been comfortable.
So how did that dance party, is that what eventually became the Get Down? Did that evolve directly into that?
It did not.
Okay.
So that dance party, Get Your Dance On, was expensive because I was bringing in all these different artists. It was a whole production, and we weren't serving alcohol. Eventually, we had to pay venue fees as it got bigger, and it continued to evolve because I did it for about 2 years, maybe.
And how big did it grow to? From 5 people to how many did you end up with towards
That's
the end?
a great question.
Ballpark.
Maybe a couple hundred.
Okay, massive.
Yeah.
Massive growth.
Not every time,
wow.
but we did it in different places, and
Right.
it went up and down, but it was a thing.
Big. That's
It was
like
a real
lot
thing.
Of people.
Fueled purely by my love of dance. I wasn't DJing at all.
Were you just on the ground facilitating,
Yeah.
kind of talking on the mic, that kind of thing?
I wasn't even on the
space?
mic. I was just being a little dancer fairy, like talking to people and like, hi, what do you need? Welcome.
Yeah. You were playing host.
Yeah, I was totally hosting and producing.
Love it.
And I never made a cent.
Great.
And so it also became clear after 2.5 years of doing that, I was like, okay, something's got to change here because this business model is not working. So I took a step back. My partner at the time, people had told me that I should learn to DJ. Like I had people in my life who were like, you should really DJ. That would be so fun. It makes so much sense for you. And I just couldn't see it. I was too insecure. I was too scared. I didn't see any non-model female role models. Like back then, it was a very different landscape. The landscape has totally changed. Female DJs now are way, way more empowered and visible than they were 15 years ago. Then it was like dudes and models here and there. And I was like, well, I don't see myself here. I've never touched a vinyl. I don't know what any of this is. So when people said you should learn to DJ, I was just like, I don't know how to do that. So therefore I can't. That kind of thing. So finally one day, my partner at the time, who had some old DJ equipment like in the closet that had just been sitting there, he went to Guitar Center and exchanged it for a little controller, a little DJ controller, and he brought it home to me and he was like, you gotta learn. It's time. And so
we love that.
It was another bitch slap, like, hello.
Yeah. Well, when I reached out to you initially about wanting to join PhDJ, you asked me why I wanted to DJ, and my answer was, I'm at the point where it doesn't make sense that I don't know how to DJ.
Yeah.
And you were like, I resonate with that deeply.
Yeah. I know what that means. Totally. So I took like a year to learn and start. So because it was really cool, because I had done Get Your Dance On, I spent some time, and I was still in the healing arts. Like that was my career path at the time, health coaching, Reiki, doing energetic work with people. So I got brought on Wanderlust Festival to run their healing sanctuary.
Very cool.
That was when I was learning to DJ, and I was making mixes and kind of putting them out online. And I remember coming back from that summer Wanderlust tour from Healing Sanctuary World, and that's when I started my first class, which was called Get Your Dance On Yoga Sessions.
Okay.
And I would collaborate with the yoga teacher, and the yoga teacher would do the first half hour, and then we would dance for an hour, and I would DJ and facilitate, and then the yoga teacher would do the final half hour cool down. Very sweet. And I had already been building an email list, so, we'd get 10 to 25 people each week. And
That's great.
That's how I cut my teeth with figuring out how bodies respond to music.
Right.
Because it's very different from having your own embodied intelligence and self-perception, like your ability to feel yourself, to feel the music. Translating it onto how is this going to impact other bodies is another skill set. So that was beautiful opportunity. And maybe 9 months to a year of doing that, I got introduced to the owner of Cielo, which was an amazing club at the time. Small, intimate club, very intimate, yes. With one of the best sound systems in the city. Really in the country. Amazing. Function 1 sound, padded, tuned walls, which in 2013 was uncommon.
Right.
And I pitched them this idea of, hey, you open to the public at 10 p.m. What if I came and did a party from 7 to 10 when you're not doing anything?
Yeah.
And they were open to it. And I did the same business model I'd been doing with Get Your Dance On, which is charge $20 at the door. Mm-hmm. Cash.
Right.
And it, 50, 80 people around there would come monthly. We did once a month for several months. And I had some strategic partners, started working with other hosts, getting other people to help promote and bringing in guest artists. And it just wasn't growing. Mm-hmm. And we had a bar guarantee. That was our main deal with the venue, where they had to make a certain amount of money at the bar. If they did that, we kept ticket sales. The problem is, if you don't make that money at the bar, if people don't buy enough drinks, then I owe the bar money. Ooh. So my crowd, as you can imagine, not very big drinkers. Yeah. So the issue was we weren't getting enough people in the door to make the bar guarantee, and then at the end of the night, it was the same problem. It was like, fuck, I owe more than we made in ticket sales.
Right.
So in Hail Mary, I was like, listen, I don't care about the money. I don't care about how much we're making at the door. I don't care what tickets cost. Let me just get people in the door, enough people so that we make the bar guarantee, so that I don't have to pay the bar anything. Right. I just want to make the best dance party ever. That's all I want. That's all I want to do. Let me just get the people in the door so we don't have to worry about this bar guarantee. I just want to make this awesome. So I made it free before 7 and $5 after 7. And that is when we started to get momentum.
Okay. Smart. Yeah. Smart.
Yeah. Yep. And then, as it grew, as the momentum picked up, we were able to raise the prices to meet demand. And then I think it was 2 years into doing the Get Down, which, by the way, this was the Get Down.
Which I just went to for the first time in New York.
And it's under its new moniker, The Drop. It's now called The Drop. Right. Yes.
The Get Down has turned into The Drop,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Same vibe. Same vibe. Okay.
So fun. And I've been to Ecstatic Dance, I've been to Burning Man, I've been to Five for Them. This party is something entirely different and so fun.
It's the best. I love it. So then, 2 years into it, we put tickets online. I will never forget the first time I put tickets online, and 2 weeks in advance, I knew there was people coming.
Yeah. Because prior to that, you had just been doing tickets at the door?
Cash at the door, which, let me tell you, I still have nightmares. I still, to this day, had one last week that I am setting up for this party and there's nobody there. Or the music's not working, or it's like this. Oh, where is everybody? Is it going to work? And that was always the feeling. And then once I started putting tickets online, also when people buy ahead of time, they're more likely to show up. So it just, for so many reasons, as a business model, just made us more successful, and it made me able to relax because I knew people were coming. And then we started building more and more momentum, moved to bigger venues, just kept growing and growing, and we're every other week and sold out every time for years. And then celebrated our 7-year anniversary March 5th, 2020.
Okay.
And then, as we all know, 1 week later, the clubs closed. Mm-hmm. And everything went away, and I left New York, and life as I knew it ended, and we thought maybe we'd never get dance floors back again. And I started facilitating online, and I did online dances, and I did online dances for 18 months.
Wow.
And it was a wild, wild time. Many challenging, confronting moments that gave me what I needed to grow into the kind of person who could actually start teaching what I do.
Yeah.
And in the process, I also figured out the method of what I do. Because before that, people would always ask me, like, Tasha, you got to scale this. Bring the get down to LA, bring it to SF, bring it to Austin, da, da, da. And I could tell I was already creating the template of how you produce that event. Like, I had an assistant, we codified it, we made playbooks. We're like, we need that person in that role, you need that person in that role. It's bigger than the music, what comes together to make that
it's
party
production.
happen.
It's a whole production. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a whole lots of ingredients. And I had codified those, I could have scaled those, but I did not know how to translate what I was doing with the music to anybody else. So that's where I was hitting a wall. I was like, I don't know. And I also know that what I'm doing with the music is really important.
Right.
It's like the
that's
heart
the
of
sauce.
what's
Yeah,
happening.
Yeah.
Everything else sets people up to receive the music fully.
Right.
And so everything got stripped away. And it was just me and the music and people in their living rooms. And we were all freaking out and just trying to feel better. It really, really brought us back to the core of what's important and what we're doing. And I was living alone in the woods for 6 months and facilitating and dancing to the replays of those dances, and had this, incredible download of, there's this actually a 7-part structure that I do every time, whether I'm DJing a party or an ecstatic dance or a cocktail hour or a museum reception. It doesn't matter the energy level or the genre. They all follow this map. And that's when I was like, okay, I think this is teachable. I think that I can actually translate this for people to learn how to do what I'm doing. And then magically, within a month, my first student showed up.
Don't you love when that happens? I love when that happens.
It's the winks, the winks from the creator, where it's like, don't worry, it's written. It's okay.
It keeps happening. And then when you get so in sync with it and so in tune with it, and it's really fun having a conversation with somebody else who experiences this too. Because again, people ask me these questions all the time, and I try to explain to them like how things happen in life and how I navigate and move. And I go, it's not up to me, actually. Like, I obviously have an active choice and can take the action, and that's why I think like this podcast, we talk a lot about there's intention and then there's action, and you can't just sit there and hope and pray and wish that your manifestations are to come to fruition. You've got to take those steps, but once you start taking those steps, the path appears, and the universe goes, come, let's go. So this thing that you figured out you could teach, and the student that came in, is this what ultimately has now turned into PhDJ?
This is PhDJ.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's called The Score.
Great.
The method.
I'm happy we got all the way here.
Yep, we made it.
We made it all the way back.
Which is what it's all about, as you will learn in PhDJ, Amanda.
Guys, so I've been teasing on this podcast for the last few episodes. A couple episodes back, I was like, I got the download, guys. DJing, it's happening soon. I'm going to be a DJ soon. I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know when, I don't know why. And then exactly like we've been talking about, Tasha's name came up in a conversation a few months ago. She was on my radar. Then I had 3 or 4 different people ask me if I knew who you were. They were like in totally different conversations. They were like, you have to know this woman, Tasha. Have you been to her parties? Do you know who she is? And then by the 4th person, I was like, I looked you up. I added you on Instagram. I looked at your events, and I was like, all right, next time I have the opportunity to go to one of her events, I have to go. It's time.
Yeah.
And so we're doing PhDJ, guys. We're becoming a DJ with Tasha.
Yes, honey.
It's happening.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, your story's amazing, by the way. Thanks. It's amazing, and it's just so real and relatable. Even every single element of the story, hearing the way that you navigate, hearing how you just saw an opportunity, asked for what you wanted, figured it out, iterated on it, had to kind of come to Jesus moments of like, cool, this isn't making money. Like, I'm really passionate about this. It's going to work out. I'm going to figure it out. Like all of these little tiny micro things that you've done along the way, I think are not teachable, but just teachable moments for others that are in similar situations. I think one of my philosophies is that the only way that you fail is by giving up. And I truly believe that many people, before they reach the point of finding success in something, just it gets too hard and they let that be their defeat moment and then they go to something else. And to your point of like tuning into your intuition, knowing that what you're doing is like, this is the path, this is what I'm meant to be doing. And then being like, all right, there's going to be things along the way that aren't exactly what I'm desiring, and iterate and figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm reminded of that. Liz Gilbert talks about how anything you do comes with a shit sandwich.
I love that.
So pick the thing that you're willing to eat this shit sandwich with, you know, like you can't get away from it.
Yeah.
And I try to be pretty ruthlessly transparent about how fucked up I was, like how miserable and how scared and how vulnerable and how tender. And also a huge part of that was like I didn't know how to hold my own tenderness and vulnerability. But I try to be really upfront with like, this was not an easy thing. And I was not a likely person for it. I was not a likely personality for it, let's say. Because I think when a lot of people look at me now, or even, 7 years ago when like the Get Down was super successful and like a New York institution and I was a big DJ on the stage, it was this whole vibe. And I had this big transformation as a result of saying yes to DJing. It really forced me to confront my social anxiety. Hosting a party forced me to own my voice and get a lot more courageous and get really much more familiar with the muscle of feeling the fear and doing it with the fear. And I think when folks see the result, they can very easily project. Like, I can't tell you how many times I have such a girl crush on you. You're so badass. That's the perception. And on one hand, absolutely, totally true.
Yeah.
100%.
Own that shit. Yeah.
100%. And so are you.
Yep.
So are you. So is everybody here in their own way. Not everybody has to be the same thing, but every single person has that level of power and fire and creativity inside of them waiting to come out. And so I try to share that origin story to be like, yeah, and so are you.
My friend has this beautiful quote. I'm almost certain I quote him every single podcast and every single day because it's so relevant. But he says, we are the human permission slips. So by us showing up in our authenticity, by us being the most real version of ourselves, the most embodied version of ourselves, just by doing that, not by teaching, preaching, sharing, whatever it is, people see that and they go, oh, I could do that? Wait a minute. And so you're like the embodiment of what's possible for some people. And just even cracking that. And I remember before I fell into the world of Burning Man and conscious community and all that, I just always had this gut instinct in my bones that what I was seeing around me wasn't it. And I was waiting to see an example of something that felt true to me. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I started ecstatic dance. It wasn't until I went to Burning Man. It wasn't until I found myself in these rooms and in these spaces where I saw it and I was like, that's it. Mm-hmm. That's what I've been waiting for. Thank you for showing me that this is a path, that this is a possible way to exist. Like, thank you. So what is your dream right now? Are you focusing on your events? Is it more about the programs? Do you want to be a headlining DJ at festivals? What is your ultimate dream version of Tasha 11.0? I was like 2.0, 3.0, I don't know. Like down the line. Like what are or is it unfolding?
So one of the things I have come to accept is that the path I'm walking is not the big commercial DJ success path where, you know, there's a formula, there's action steps you can take to get a headlining spot at such and such festival. And the lessons that I have been served over the last 20 years have really shown me that the path I'm walking is about holding space for real healing and integration and leadership development, the development of my own leadership and of others. And for the last 5 years, since 2020 and that whole kind of rupture and fork in the road, my head's been very down, focused on building this education program and metabolizing the many, many, many lessons that have been served over this period of time on every level, from like personal and physical to business and leadership and team, like so many, and teaching. Like if you want to learn a lot, become a teacher. That's the quickest path to learning is to teach. I would say I've learned so much, and it's big. The energy of PhDJ is big, and what wants to come through is big. It's like bigger than what's happened so far. And it's taken me this much time to kind of get my feet under me and create the support systems around me and the right organizational system around me where I can actually lift my head up and look at what's coming and what is next. And like, okay, how do we strategize for that? And it's literally just in the last like month that has happened.
Perfect.
Yeah. Because I also spent, one of the things for example is something we realized was really missing from PhDJ was a very, very thorough tech skills education, like a foundational tech skills program. And I looked high and low. I looked at all of the programs that are out there, the video-based education programs that teach you the foundational DJ skills that everybody needs. And I was not happy with any of them.
Right.
And because I really wanted something that I could just hand to my students and be like, here you go. This is what you need.
Do this and then come to me.
Right, because PhDJ it's a lot of advanced skills in addition to tech stuff. And we did have our own videos and we were teaching the basics. I wasn't satisfied with what we had. So I spent the last 13 months creating DJ Essentials, which is now, it's a 27 video course, and it is everything that I believe, every skill that I believe every DJ needs to nail to be phenomenal. And it is no fancy tricks. It's like nothing, no frills. There's no scratching. There's nothing complicated. It's like these are the foundational essential skills you need to really be able to mix smoothly so that you can do all the more advanced stuff.
Right.
So that's been the last year of research, development, and creation and filming. And we just released it as a standalone course that people can just get. Like, let's say, not everybody's ready for PhDJ, but they want to learn DJ skills. It's perfect for that.
Right.
And DJ Essentials is also now the foundation for our skills bootcamp in PhDJ. Everybody gets it. It's woven into the whole program. So things like that, setting ourselves up to really have everything we need so that I can focus on what's coming. And I got to say, I'm really, really excited about doing more live events and doing more sets. I already have been the last few months. This has been a really fun summer. But I'm launching, in addition to the drop and working with new venues for that, it is coming soon. I just launched a new offering called The Practice, which is a 2-hour barefoot, sober, guided dance where it really brings it back to the roots of where I learned. on the 5 Rhythms dance floor, which is a similar format. It's barefoot, it's sober, it's a couple hours, and they're teaching the 5 Rhythms. And this is going to be me teaching the score, which is the 7-part method, which I've been teaching to DJs, but also completely applies to movement.
To dancers, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to give you this moment here as we close to share any upcoming dates, deadlines, ways in which to connect, and things that are coming up soon.
Easiest connection points, tashablank.com and Instagram at Tasha Blank.
We'll tag both of those below the show.
Cool. Yeah, because those have, I mean, there's lots of links. There's my SoundCloud. I've got like thousands of hours of music on SoundCloud. And there's PhDJ. There's actual events that are coming up. But all of them are linked on Instagram and on my website. And then we've got, so DJ Essentials is something that's going to be available for anybody who's interested in learning to DJ, kind of forevermore. I don't know when this is going to actually drop, but we start PhDJ September 16th.
And what's going to be really fun for you guys, so the way that my podcast works is I have guests on every other episode, but the episodes in between are solo podcasts where I'm talking about my journey towards stepping into my dream life. And I talk about my journey as a nomad and this and that. And so I will be doing the DJ's Essentials course. I will be doing PhDJ, and you guys will be hearing about this for the next 8 months. Yes. So this is the launch. You'll be hearing all about my progress. Every 2 weeks, you'll get an update.
So good. This is so good. I love what you're doing. I love that you're documenting this, and I love your trust in the process and in yourself and in life.
I just know that it's exactly what you just confirmed right back to me, and seeing other people that live this way has truly just been like, yep, I'm doing something right. There is this deep knowing within. I think it's a Martin Luther King quote that's like, you take the first step and then the staircase appears. It's truly that. And again, you have to tune into your body. This is why we do the breath at the beginning of this. This is why the embodiment work is so important. There was a time in my life when I didn't listen to internal nudges and things because I had no connection to it. I didn't hear them. And so getting to a place where you're feeling good in your body, you're connected to source, you're connected to self, you're open and listening to what wants to be, and you're following those nudges, and it's scary. I know a lot of people, once those nudges start coming online, fucking terrifies them. They're like, I have a nice secure job in life, like what am I gonna do? Start this side hustle, start this thing? What if I'm bad? What if nobody shows up to my dance parties? What if I'm not making any money? What if my relationship to zero is horrible? Like all of these things that you've shared so far, I think are so, I hope that everybody that's listening is able to take some piece of this away with them and allow you to be that permission slip for them, that if you, somebody who proclaims is an unlikely person to be able to do all these things, is able to do it and find success in this and really step into your dharma, so can you. So can you.
That's right.
So can you. This has been so much fun. I'm so grateful that you were brought into my world, that the universe nudged you right to me and us to each other. And beyond PhDJ, we're going to be doing some work together on enhancing socials and just getting your name out there more and sharing more of your story. And this is obviously going to be the first step in that. So I'm very, very excited for everybody who gets to listen to this. Tasha and I both are real people. So feel free to reach out to us if anything in this conversation resonated with you. We'd love to hear from you. Definitely check out Tasha's website and Instagram. Personally, I will be attending her upcoming events in New York City. If you guys want to join me, let me know. And we will see you on the next one. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.